Hey, what's up guys, it's Oakley, and I'm doing a series of battles here, just trying to demonstrate a build I came up with recently as the Empire. So the Empire in Warhammer 2 aren't quite as powerful or as versatile, at least in the matchups that I found in Warhammer 2, compared to kind of the New World factions that have a lot of interesting mechanics that kind of put them up and over the edge. So Empire, from what I've seen, don't really have that great counters. Same thing with the Orcs, they do not fare very well against the Tomb King. So I figured I'd go ahead and try and build a little bit of a counter build against what you see from the Tomb Kings. So generally what you'll see from the Tomb Kings is at least one Ushabti with great bow, a pretty decent infantry line. This time it's skeleton warriors, which aren't great. Usually you'll see more of the Nehekar warriors, as well as Ushabti, as well as a great battle line, and you have Archon the Black in here as well. So that's kind of generally what you're facing. The main thing that is going to be the threat for the Empire is going to be some of the big constructs, the Ushabti, and some of the range stuff that can just shred your cavalry from a distance. So what I decided to do as my little bit of a counter build that I've brought here is it's supposed to be a skirmishing build that's focused around sniping key components of the enemy force. So the prime centerpiece of this is going to be the Luminark of Ish rolling up here. And then throughout, what you would definitely want to bring is some unbreakable units, because otherwise the rest of your units are going to flee in terror. So you want to bring at least 2 flagellants. And then backing that up, I also have 2 handgunners in the center, and then 2 free company militia on the flanks, and then I have 2 spearmen. So relatively cheap units that abound here. In the center, you might want to trade off between what your additional lords are going to be. So my main lord is going to be Boris Todbringer, mounted here. He's pretty powerful, but you want to keep him out of range of bows and potential spirit leeches, etc. And then you kind of have enough spare room for a lord. So in this case, I brought a witch hunter, armor piercing, and the ability to do direct damage to take out enemy constructs. But you can swap him out for a warrior priest, or even just a general of the Empire, or even perhaps a jade wizard to heal up your force. And then finally, the last element is going to be the mounted division. So 2 of these Reichsguard. Pretty decent, healthy infantry with a fair amount of armor. Essentially, what these guys are doing is just staying in the back of your lines. This is to be contrasted with your outriders with grenade launchers. These guys are going to be one of the main killing forces that you have at your disposal. So like I said, this is overall supposed to be a pretty big skirmishing body, where you have kind of 2 preliminary goals. The first is going to be roll up with the Luminark of Hish and start sniping at forces. Priority target is going to be for anything that can fire back, so Shabdi with great bows. So he's going to kind of do his business. And then anything that comes up towards you, if it's infantry, come and charge it with outriders and just start lobbing grenades, and these guys will do a ton of damage. The forces here aren't very well armored, so this thing will do a lot of damage. And I believe the explosions and the fire do even more damage against Tomb Kings. Not sure. But anyways, so that's going to be your early preliminary scouting. Then as the enemy closes in, what you're going to want to do is get some fire off with the handgunners and just do a stutter step back until you get to the rear line, where you're going to hold a defense with your Luminark of Hish. Anything that gets a bit too pushy, you can charge with Reichsguard, and just their high mass will allow you to stop a charge from Ushabti. But more importantly, these guys are going to be here to clean up infantry that get too close. Meanwhile, you're going to stutter step, as I said. An important thing here when you're doing your stutter step is to put handgunners and all of your skirmishers on guard mode. And essentially what that does is it means that even if they're engaged, they'll continue to fire. That's really important, especially for free company militia. Someone put a post on Reddit about this, where if these guys get engaged and they're on guard mode, the front lines will take out their sabers, but the rear lines will continue to shoot. And that's really, really awesome. Definitely helps with them. And especially if they're fighting against big constructs, the guys in the back have a prime target. So yeah. Another thing you can also see me doing is I'm pulling forward with the witch hunter here, just to kind of bait out some volleys from his forces. So the first volley of the great bow is targeted. The witch hunter didn't do too much damage, and now I'm going to start to exchange with the Ushabti with great bows. Yeah, every shot isn't going to hit a big group, but at every unit that it does hit, it's going to take out a fair amount of their armor. So I'm going to fire and then kind of reposition back there, just cutting, trying to dodge shots as it's reloading. And then now that he's ready to reload, we're going to get in and let's watch this shot inbound. There you go, going to take out 1 model at a time, and you'll find that pretty swiftly this thing is going to be at half strength or lower. This guy also trades really cost effectively against scorpions, I found. Oh, looks like he used restore. But anyways, yeah, this thing can take out scorpions in like 2-3 shots, so all the big constructs that you would expect to take out the Empire are going to be really good. Now also look at what I'm doing here. The enemy front line is going to charge forward because I have the range superiority, and all I'm going to do is just bring in with my Outriders, and they're just going to tail the main body. And usually you want to try and target something a little bit more valuable, but I'm just going to start hitting the front line because that's what I have. So you can see a couple volleys and Skeleton Warriors are gone. Handgunners are going to start to fire here. So they're going to be the front line. First fire, and then if you can do this on a hill, it'll be even better, because then you can fire over your own ranks. But anyways, I'm getting first volley and then retreating, and then the Flagellants are just going to be here to hold. I'm also buttoning up the right flank to get some spearmen to rebuff this charge. Luminark is going to continue to take out those Ushabti. But now that he's pretty much been killed, I'm going to reprioritize on the front lines here. So here you go, retargeting this, and take a look at this. The mass volleys, handgunners, another handgunner is going to be repositioned, and then Free Company Militia also in the back. You want to make sure you have multiple lines so that if they get charged, not everything is tied down. And then also so you can continue to do this stutter step. Witch Hunter also going to be taking aim at the main line. And then you're going to want to use the Flagellants here. There you go, multiple ranks of fire. You're going to want to use the Flagellants here just to tie down the enemy. They can take a big punch because they're unbreakable. And yeah, with that Luminark, I'm devastating this front. And then everything else on this side, just continue to shoot it up with Outriders. And then also you want to bring Boris Todbringer in as well. Just because he has different abilities that can, hold the line, more leadership, and things like that. That can really help buff up the front line and help it sustain. Let's go ahead and take a look at the front ranks here as they're going to start to fire. So I'm forming a bit of a concave on the center here. And mind you, cavalry is still uncommitted, so they're going to wait to get into combat when and where I need them. Looks like actually one of them was punched through the center. That's why you noticed as well. You saw me hold up, on both flanks, and in the center where they threatened to blow out my middle, you'll just toss in one cavalry force, just like that, and it's going to knock things about. It's going to tie them down. It's going to allow your gunners and other units to just continue firing. Same thing with the Outriders. They can just fire into that mess. So let's watch this now. Also, the Witch Hunter should be prowling around looking for big Ushabti targets to shoot at. And yeah, let's watch. There you go. So here comes the cavalry to come reinforce. And it's going to banish those Ushabti pretty handily. And the gunners continue to pull back over the hill. And yeah, this is going pretty well for us, I would say. There's a lot of potential killing power of the enemy force here with Ushabti, Skeleton Warriors, lots of replenishment, Archon buffing them. So this is a lot of killing power. But that's why you bring Flagellants, because they're not going to break. They're just going to hold the line. And then the Witch Hunter is in here to start targeting Lords. He's starting to munch on Archon the Black. Same thing with the Luminark, just hits him right in the face there, and that drops him really, really low. So yeah, keeping both of these is really good for sniping enemy Lords. And keep an eye on the Outrider. It's just circling around these blobs and doing work. And the gunners in the back line just continuing to stutter step and fire in supporting positions. Same thing with Boris. I could commit him if need be. And the cavalry is going to go ahead and retreat for the time being. Yeah, look at this. Ranks firing over each other. It's really epic. This is super punishing. This is the strength of the Empire. And so if you get rushed, then you could take potentially so much freaking damage from the Tomb Kings if your whole line gets collapsed on instantly. These Flagellants aren't going to be able to hold out for long. And take a look at this. Ushabti are going to be raised in the back, which is exactly what I have to be worried about. But I can bring back Boris to deal with this. And then also, these handgunners are perhaps in the wrong position. So I'm going to toggle them out and allow Boris to just shut this down. Yeah, Outriders here with 140 kills, doing really well. And yeah, now we're getting a little bit of chaos once my guys start to get tied down. But the Free Company Militia, you'll notice when they're on guard mode, are going to behave a lot better. And yeah, always the circling cavalry to shut down any monsters to get through. And then these just allow your handgunners to pick their targets, especially the constructs, like I said. Easy pickings. Even if cavalry are tying them down, I can focus fire them relatively easily. So it's not a problem there. So yeah, just keep these floating around, turn off skirmishing mode, and just position them in gaps within your force, and just generally aim at different parts of the battlefield. Also, look at this 2v1ing the archers over here. These Outriders are definitely epic. Let's watch these. Yeah, just going to tear through these archer blobs that you're going to see a lot from the Tomb King rear lines. And there you go, they absolutely melt. Meanwhile, the center is holding. The Witch Hunter still holding strong in the center. And now we're going to try and finish. Yeah, looks like Archon went down. Somewhere in the center, I believe the Witch Hunter helped finish him off. And then, yeah, now we're getting a general crumbling. So you can get that crumble going even quicker if once your Luminark is done dispatching the Ushabti, if you just start targeting Archon or whoever the general is, just go ahead and go for the main leader with both him, and if you brought the Witch Hunter variant, go ahead and take him out as well. And then the rest of the force, even if it's pretty scary, all you have to do is buy time. So once you take out the leader, everything will start to perhaps be debilitated, and that's where the rest of this army really does well. Free Company Militia, Cavalry, Handgunners are all relatively fast, and you can split up your force in comparison to the Tomb Kings, which can be powerful, but they're actually pretty slow. And at that point, once you snipe the head off the enemy, well, then you just kind of break up, disperse, and just wait for the enemy to not bleed out, but fade out, I guess. I don't know what the equivalent would be. But yeah, so that is how you would play this Empire build. Let's go ahead and load up another replay here, because I did want to show it fighting against another force and show like some variants on it. So let's go over version 2 of this. Alright, we're in the next battle, and I have brought similar army compositions to the last one, just swapping out a warrior priest. And then you'll notice in the initial deployment here, I've kind of swapped things up. But this is generally how you want things composed. Spearmen on the flanks to rebuff enemy cavalry charges or encirclements. Then in the center, you want your unbreakable units, flagellants, and then gunners nearby to support. And then, where did I put my free company? Oh, I guess in this alternate build. Anyways, let's keep going over the center. So yeah, unbreakable units in the center. With handgunner support, just to pincer on the center, spearmen to guard the flanks. In this case, I did bring Sigmar's Son as well to reinforce where I need. And the Reiksguard cavalry really want to be held in the center to help support. Same thing with your general. To cut a little bit of cost, I put him on a Pegasus because I noticed in the last battle he wasn't in combat that often. So the Pegasus actually does improve some of his stats here. It decreases his overall health and it gets rid of the fear abilities. But when you're going against the Tomb Kings, I realize fear isn't going to be a big motivator. So unless fear is going to be pretty powerful, I would actually skimp out on the larger mount and just go for this Pegasus. It'll be pretty powerful. But yeah, so that's your core here. And the Luminark also positioned to start sniping at the enemy. In this case, my initial action is going to be to try and hit his Ushabti, but I noticed that they're a little bit guarded behind the hill. Good positioning on my opponent's side. And so I'm just going to start to snipe away at the front line. You do have a lot of ammo on this thing, so might as well start chipping away at that. Meanwhile, what you could do with some of your Vanguard deployed units, in this case, Outriders and Free Company Militia, is if you do find that there are, if there's woodland around the map, go ahead and, you don't have to deploy them in front of your front lines. Go ahead and stake out early positions on either flank where you can start to maybe lay some traps. So as the enemy pulls forward, I have the potential to start to hit them from the flanks and disorient them. Yeah, I'm trying to force an engagement with the Luminark, which is essentially all you're going to be doing. The enemy did bring a bit more range power this time around. Screaming Skull Catapult. And so he is going to try and, outfire me. And Screaming Skull Catapult is pretty powerful in that it has the ability to cause tear. So if it hits you head on, it can do a decent amount of damage. But all you got to do is just keep an eye on who it's targeting. And then just kind of give movement orders. The second you see the shots incoming, the game has told it to kind of track a force. So then just switch your orientation. So you'll notice here, shots are incoming. I'm just going to give a movement order. And then most of these are going to miss. So as long as you stay pretty spread out, you'll be doing okay. So yeah, now I've provoked the enemy into an engagement. I'm going to start firing at his bows. Or his Ushabti thinks he can come and counter the Luminark. So he's going to start to get some shots in. And we'll see just how he does here. And yeah, actually looks like he's pretty scared after taking a volley that did a fair amount of damage. And try and get some final shots off against him. Yeah, good accuracy. So there you go, he's going to be dropping. At least I'm banishing him to the flank. And now the enemy's going to start pushing up the center. And try and secure a position. I'm kind of just moving forward to spread out my guys. And just biding time. I'm thinking of launching an ambush here because he's got a lot of infantry. I don't want to provoke his guys out from this little hilltop position that he has. And expose more units. So I'm going to go ahead and pull out these Outriders. This is an opportune moment to strike here. I do have to worry about his constructs. Ooh, and his main line is taking a real beating. Which means my guys are just going to trade more cost effectively. But also, meanwhile, notice just how spread out I have these guys. Keep the cavalry out of artillery range, out of Ushabti range, and the rest of these guys, just spread them out so you don't take unnecessary damage. And yeah, those volleys from those Screaming Skulls are doing almost nothing. So here we go. Pulled up with the Outriders, got a couple volleys on the main line, causing chaos and mayhem, and it's forced one of his Dragon Prince, or sorry, Tomb Princes to charge after me. I knew that this was a possible exchange in terms of what would happen if I provoked him, and so I had already pre-sent cavalry over to this flank, so they're going to be here to tie down the center. Same thing with this warrior priest. He's moving in the center just to kind of serve as a pick for anything that might push through the center. I also moved up with my handgunners to get some preliminary shots on his guys. This Tomb Prince is going to be seen off by the Reiksguard. They're not necessarily going to kill him very quickly, but it's enough mass to tie him down. And meanwhile, I'm going to continue to pull back and just kite. And yeah, even a couple main shots at the line here doesn't do too much. Yeah, let's watch this. Handgunner is going to continue to wreck face there. So he can do all the damage he wants with that catapult, but I am getting more than enough value with my guys. Meanwhile, he gets a little bit pissed here. Archon the Black is going to charge in. My Free Company Militia gets some early shots off, but they don't do too much. They don't have armor piercing unless you have the upgraded Regiment of Renown version. So this is better for ambushing, infantry that charge by. If you see a lord coming at you, it's best just to kind of decommit this or use it as a distraction. So I could have charged these guys, intercepted Archon, and allowed me to get some more shots. But anyways, what I'm going to be doing now is charging in with Spearmen, tying that down. So in dealing with threats with the Luminark, you could try and pull back with everything, but Archon's so fast, I'm just going to take the charge and just wait and fire into that. So that's something your Luminark can do. Also keep some handgunners nearby to just maybe focus on him, and then you can pivot over Boris to charge him as well as perhaps even pulling back with some cavalry. You can see me doing that. They're estranged from my left flank, so I'm going to try and pull them all the way around. And meanwhile, this force here is going to be sent in as a sacrifice. Don't quite need them, and I'm just going to continue to kite. So the key thing about this build is stay flexible. You're going to be doing a lot of falling back. So on the right hand side, you may want to sacrifice something. A flagellant would have been good because it never would have died. And then just keep your outrider continuously firing. Set picks with your heroes where you can. And over here, Archon really wants to take out my Luminark, but Boris has landed. And he's going to trade pretty well against that. Same thing with the Spearman nearby. It's going to be doing pretty good. And then these nearby gunners, they're just going to do tons of damage to the chasing Ushapti bows. He's going to pull out and continue to chase, get Spirit Leech. So you can see just how much focus he's giving on my Luminark of Hysh. But I would say at this point in time, it's already done the damage. And so continuing to chase after that is going to be his downfall. But yeah, take a look at this. Let's get a quick reload here. Yeah, there we go. So recall that these guys are on guard mode. So the front lines are going to charge in. Meanwhile, the back, the Pistoliers, should still be able to fire, if I'm remembering correctly. Oh, whoa. If I didn't tell them to move, I believe they were about to do their firing animation. But anyways, this could be troubling, so I'm starting to lose Free Company Militia. That's where I'm going to throw in my Flagellants, who are unbreakable, and then I'm going to split this up. Meanwhile, Tomb Prince has been seen off. Archon, I believe, has been killed. So yeah, this is pretty good. In the center, another handgunner force just left here to fire at the Tomb Prince. Pick of my Warrior Priest is just going to hold there. And then my cavalry and outriders are just going to continue to spam the other forces. I still have a Sigmar Sun, I still have a Free Company Militia, so overall things are pretty good. And yeah, you don't actually need Boris on even a Pegasus here, I'm noticing. Keeping him up in the air makes him a little bit more able to respond to threats, but he's been pretty well protected, so if you want to cut costs even further, perhaps bring another gun line, you could maybe even drop his mounts a little bit further, although I think it's still important to keep high mobility on your lord and get to the air in case you want to get away from like halberds on the ground or something. But yeah, so this was this version of the battle, so as you can see, still pretty flexible. Swapped out the Witch Priest, the Witch Hunter for the Warrior Priest. He did pretty well. And yeah, continuing to see a bit of the stutter step with my gunners, the flexibility of the force, and the power of the outriders. So let's load the final replay here of a series of battles that I've been doing against various opponents, all who brought the Tomb Kings. So yeah, this time around, you'll notice that he has brought a fair amount of catapults and archers. So that could potentially be a counter to my build. If my build is all about skirmishing, then what happens if the Tomb Kings decide to bring a lot of range, which is, 50% of this force is going to be ranged. Units, catapults, archers, etc. You'll notice in my build, I actually swapped out one of the heroes for a Jade Wizard, and all he's bringing is Earthblood. Because I figured I'd just try that, and it ended up lucking out because I'm going to be taking a lot of fire. So the Earthblood here is going to help keep the Luminark topped off, as well as, in this case, topping off some of my infantry line as well, and my handgunners. So notice, once again, the deployment, unbreakable units in the center, handgunners kind of sitting behind that with the cavalry, and then you can actually opt to put the Free Company Militia either up front here or perhaps hidden in the flanks. what have you. And then Luminark of Fish, I generally like it on one of the flanks. In the center is not necessarily a good idea because that's where all the attention is going to be drawn. And if you put it on the flank, it'll shoot at the mass of troops in the center. And if the enemy overcommits on the right, then it weakens the threat on your infantry. So I just like kind of a little bit of the asymmetry. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket in the center. Anyways, I also have my hidden outriders on the right flank. This time, looks like he brought the, this is another opponent. He brought 2 of these Tomb Scorpions, which can destroy infantry lines. So it looks like he wants to chew into my guys. So basically, these guys are tasked to eat the Empire alive while cavalry supports. But take a look at this incoming bolt. Bam! Drop that guy to a, yeah, he's critical, weak binding. So yeah, a single volley, and that entire effort to disrupt my front is beaten back. So that was going to be his move. Come in here and just eat through my infantry line and just wait in the back with a bunch of Screaming Skull catapults hidden out of artillery range. This is a pretty good anti-Empire build. And we'll see how it fares. So he is pummeling my front lines. So what you definitely want to do is keep your kind of spaghetti lines. So keep your elite units, the guys you care about, in the back. In the front, I don't care so much about my Free Company militia. They're just here to skirmish. And then keep dodging them. Look at all these blue dots. That's the places he's hit. But because I'm like keeping the micro up and just making sure I run around, most of the shots are going to end up missing. And then like I said, luckily I do have the Jade Wizard as well in the center. And if I get too low health like this Free Company militia, I have a lot of mana. Might as well just kind of top them off if need be. Meanwhile, I'm going to try and move forward with the Luminark, but the enemy's being quite cagey. Completely out of my line of sight here. So I'm going to circle around in the back to at least start to try and take out some of that gun crew. And I had them hidden on the flank, which is what is allowing me to land this little bit of a strike before the enemy realized. So yeah, it does take out a fair amount of them. But the bows in the back here to reinforce, plus Necropolis Knights, anti-large with poison attacks, yeah, that can rebuff anything I throw at the rear line. So he's really wanting to protect in these guys. So it looks like all I'm going to be able to do is just kind of sustain this, which is okay. Like we saw, it's missing most shots. And then if anything, okay, I can't get at your artillery, but I can definitely get at your front line. So he's going to try and shoot at my guys, and I'm going to shoot at his guys. Luminark's pulled up, and I'm just going to absolutely demolish these units. And yeah, continuing to pivot around. Jade Wizard also here, perhaps a draw fire, and like I said, to regen on some of the guys. Staying active is going to be really important because of the way Total War kind of calculates shots. So even if archers fire, you do want to kind of shoot and reposition. Yeah, there you go. Earthblood popped. I move forward to avoid a volley of archer fire, and I'm just going to continue to plug away at his front line here. He's going to start to focus fire on my handgunners. Looks like he's really keen on taking out my range units, which is a decent idea. It means that he can then dictate the pace of battle with his own archers late game. So he's playing this a little bit in the long run. Okay, so he's going to go after the Luminark of Hysh, noticing that that's a big threat. But all I have to do is just fall back. So Free Company militia in the front, spearmen behind that, and then handgunners lining up. Look at the range on these guys. No need to keep them right next to your front line. They can give supporting fire from super far away. Yeah, and spearmen are going to be enough to rebuff them. Yeah. Good luck. So I was really happy with how this Empire build's been playing out. Yeah, the defense in depth, really, really critical. You can rebuff those guys super easy. And yeah, Boris Todbringer also flying around just because he has different buffs that he can bring, so more leadership. And where is it here? There you go. So anything he's around, you can diminish its melee defense and leadership. So anytime there are these early engagements, if you can afford it, float Boris Todbringer over it just to help put things over in your side a little bit more. Gonna get Earthblood again on these guys here. But they're taking a lot of concentrated archer fire, so I'm gonna pull them out. Yeah, this is being pretty punishing for me. Scorpions are kind of doing decently on health, and he's really nestled in the back here. So what I decided to do is kind of start circling around here and start to poke at his front line, because he was hiding even from my guns at this point. So I really wanted the ability to fire into him. This is going to be the cue for him to charge with the cover of the hill here and get in with his guys. So preemptively, I'm going to start to shift some gunners and cav to rebuff this attack. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. Luminark is isolated a bit. So he was trying to get a flanking shot on this whole blob, shoot at the Lord. I'm going to have to disengage here. They're going to take me down pretty quickly, but that's why I brought in Reichsguard, and I have some Free Company Militia also to put in the damage, and some Spearmen as well. But let's go ahead and watch the assault on this flank. The catapults are finally taking their toll on my guys. Let's watch this. So he engages with my front line, Free Company Militia. But on the uphill here, got lots of easy shots. And this is where you would want to bring in Boris, land in on the weak one, tie it down, or even have the Reichsguard in the back who can circle. And here we go, we're going to go after this one. Yeah, and Boris is going after the other one. So that's a great way to shut down these enemy forces. So I surround here, and now there's no escape for this guy. So that is awesome. Then also, I got my Jade Wizard with the Lore of Life. Going to come in as well and just help top my guys off. And the gunners in the rear line here have a perfect opportunity to just fire at this Tomb Scorpion. So he's already gone. This one's pretty low. Boris still at good health. So I'm very happy about that. You know, over here, Sepulchre's Knights have been beat back by my Reichsguard. Luminark, still at good health, was here for some supporting fire. And the enemy Tomb Guard here are charging into my Spearmen. I think I can hold that out. Yeah, and Outrider is also going to be circling to help out where I can. So basically, this force is helping all their friends out. Catapults are going to shatter, or at least rout this Reichsguard unit, which is unfortunate because it was holding up really well. And here comes the Luminark. Now I'm going to prioritize finally on the next target, and that Grand Hierophant took so much freaking damage. So always keep an eye on what targets you're prioritizing. So in this case, it was early on going to be the Scorpions, and then after that, it's going to be this Grand Hierophant. And yeah, in the center, my guys are routing, but we've been able to circle up and kill both of these Scorpions, thanks to my Lords and also my Gunners. I still have pretty healthy Flagellants, and my Sigmar Sons, I believe, were thrown in the mix. But look at all that concentrated fire from the bows and the artillery. That can shred your guys, so you got to be careful here. And against normal state troops, they would have routed a long time ago. Yeah, there go my Spearmen. But the Lords, they can take that punishing fire pretty well. Oh, actually, it looks like my Sigmar Sons were on the right-hand flank, so these guys unbreakable as well. Oh, and here's the Grand Hierophant. Doesn't really have anywhere to run. So I can try and fire into that. Looks like he moved out of range and I stopped microing. So that would have been, that was a big micro lapse for me. I don't know what that shot was, but had I been continuing to target on the Grand Hierophant, I think he would have gone out with that shot. But anyways, all I have to do is pull back and just let my hand gunners kite this force, and I can destroy it really easily. Boris also taking no damage. He can choose to engage when and where he has to. And yeah, here comes my guy. Here come my guys reinforcing. Knights, Outriders, I should say, came in here to tie this down. Not going to do too much, but a decent amount to shut them up for the time being. And then here comes the rattling of my Luminark, and he decides we're going to do a point-blank execution of the enemy. Oh. Not quite sure what's going on there. Okay, looks like Boris is going to choose to do the execution here. There you go, landing on the Grand Hierophant and dehorsing him. So there you go, Sigmar Son unbreakable, and with that, just like I was saying in that earlier battle, you cut off the snake's head, the rest is going to die and wither, and there you go. Here comes the rest of this force. Don't even have to deal with them. Just going to go ahead and break. So with that, we're going to see the end of the battle. So I think we've here demonstrated the versatility of this build against various Tomb King forces. Yeah, I'm sure there's some that can beat you, but if you play it right, it can be really, really powerful. And I think the Jade Wizard version of this is perhaps the most powerful, just because if the enemy brings a lot of Ushabti, you can just try and heal up the Luminark, so it can just trade much more cost effectively against those guys. And then as well, the Jade Wizard can try and buff up some of your other gunners if you're taking artillery fire, etc. The main thing with this build is not to panic. Take your time, and you have control with this centerpiece. Don't let it get isolated early game. And then the rest, yeah, just keep cycling about, keep stutter stepping with your gunners, and make sure, most importantly, to keep guard mode on so they perform much better. So that's cool. So I'll be playing a bit more of this, and let me know what your experiences are with that one. Let's end the replay and take a look at the statistics on this guide. So again, every battle gonna have tons of kills with the Outriders. In this case, triple chevrons, 81 kills. Previous battle we had I think over 150. So yeah, this thing, you don't see it used too much for the Empire, but in this circumstance can be really good. So yeah, you saw I had to take Withering Fire from the Screaming Skulls, but overall it was worth it because I was trading more effectively while they were doing that, either through the Luminark or constant harassment with the Outriders, or even my gunners once they took out the Scorpions. So that's it for this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. See you in the next one. Peace out.